Good morning again, everybody. Y'all don't sound fired up enough. Good morning. Hey, I am so fired up to be here just prior to the holiday. And thanks so much for taking the time. We got a pretty good crowd out here today to talk about this topic, cyber and information advantage. So our Army provides the nation with the ability to prevent, shape, and win in the land domain. Army Cyber Command and the Army Combined Arms Center and the Joint Force Commanders to achieve information advantage throughout the competitive continuum in a contested multi-domain environment. This includes social media. Some of the questions we'll discuss today are, how can modern armies present unique signatures and adapt to unprecedented battlefield transparency? How can all data be weaponized as disinformation, and used for a nation's advantage in world affairs? How can we best adapt and use emerging technologies and data to our advantage in the information environment? What's the best way forward to build the necessary information forces that will be called upon to fight and win in the information environment? To discuss these topics and answer these questions, we have assembled a great group of speakers from across the Army, the Joint Force, industry, academia, and elsewhere in the logistics community. These folks are the top in their fields, and we really are thankful for them all coming out today. They include Lieutenant General Barrett, Lieutenant General Beagle, and many other strategic panelists you will see and hear today. And again, thanks to our two-star sponsors. Any Ceiling Tech representatives here today? No Ceiling Tech? I had to look them up online. I'm like, Ceiling Tech, I thought it was like sealing place, seal stuff on the ground, but they actually pretty high speed. But thanks again to our two-star sponsor, Ceiling Tech. So let's introduce Lieutenant General Barrett. She doesn't want me to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That's a joke, guys, come on. Y'all are way too uptight. So Lieutenant General Barrett was commissioned from Reserve Officer Training Corps in 1988 after graduating from Tufts University with a bachelor's degree in international relations. She holds a master's degree in national resource strategy from the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, the Eisenhower School, and in telecommunications management from Webster University. Previous assignments include Deputy Director of Current Operations J3, United States Cyber Command, Deputy Commanding General, Joint Force Headquarters, Cyber, Deputy Commanding General Operations, Cyber National Mission Force, U.S. Cyber Command. So, Maria, the floor now is all yours. Let's give her a round of applause.
Wow, full house. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today to talk about this. I think what you're going to hear today from all of the attendees, you're really going to get a sense of how passionate they are about this particular subject. And they're passionate from a particular perspective and experience that they bring to the game. And that diversity of experience, I think, is really going to be key to today's session. And I'm pretty excited about this. First, a few thanks. Really, thanks to AUSA and the sponsors for putting this together. The hot topic that we did last year, I got as much as we put into it, if not more, out of the dialogue, and I hope to do the same thing here today. But this particular venue, the intimacy of this venue, we are on the record, but I think the conversations are going to flow freely. And I think that, again, that is the biggest thing. And thank you for doing this on this week. We purposely scheduled this week around people's schedules. And when we looked at the subject that, hey, do we want to do another hot topic again? And we said, yes, we do. And we really wanted to go down the information advantage road because there were a couple things that had taken place. ADP 313 was published, and the Army structure decision had come out formalizing the stand-up of a Theater Information Advantage 3 Information Advantage detachments. And so we thought that the timing was appropriate to cover this. And when it was proposed to me that we do this, because Army Cyber does have a great interest in information advantage, we said we can't do this without our partners at CAC. And so, again, my other thanks would be to the Combined Arms Center for co-hosting this with us, because it is their leadership in this space as well that is really going to drive this for the Army. You always start off a briefing too with, just setting the scene in terms of where we are. And, you're going to hear from people who have been taking a look at this problem set for quite a while. The information dimension is a place that is, we are in a persistent conflict right now in this dimension. It is going to be crucially important to us. How do we think through how to apply military power across the spectrum of conflict? We might reserve this discussion to, oh, it's just to conflict or just to crisis. But in fact, the competition space, this is where it's happening now. If you think you're going to deliver options to a commander, insights to a commander about the information dimension, and you are not looking at it in the competition phase, right? Whatever you are delivering in crisis and conflict probably will fall short. You need to be prepared to be operating across that spectrum. And why is this important? Well, we're across a number of threats that we see, the barrier to entry keeps lowering. And in this particular case, as we take a look at the information dimension, it's my assessment that, malicious actors in this space, because of the technology, because of social media, because of ad tech and other circumstances, the barrier of entry for them is really much lower. And the governance behind, what do you do when you see these activities happening in the information dimension is really lacking. And so they can operate almost with impunity in this sphere. They're investing in technologies, and so as I talk about, the barrier to entry is low because of these very common types of tools that you can use, ad tech and social media, et cetera. What happens when you have a very capable adversary that can make the investment in artificial intelligence, and what does that then do to the information dimension? I think these are serious considerations for all of us. And the fact that this particular dimension, again, activities will happen across the spectrum of conflict, below the threshold of war, right? It's important for us to consider what is our role. So I think, again, this is a pretty timely to think about, how is it that we're doing business? How do we as an Army at echelon integrate the different capabilities that we have within the Army? We have capabilities that are within certain commands. We have ECTs, we have the MDTFs, we have civil affairs and PSYOPs folks within our Army ranks. How does this then come together from an Army perspective? We don't fight as an Army, we fight as a joint force. How does this also come together from a joint force? Where is it that our partners, our allies and partners come into play on this as well? What can they tell us about the environment that they may have really supreme expertise in really understanding the information environment? And then how do we complement that understanding with our own capabilities? And really, this is going to be very much about convergence, integration, and synchronization of all of these. And then there is the larger whole of government aspect of this that really comes into play. As we take a look at the competition phase, you are looking at things that are largely the messaging, largely driven by the Department of State. How can we complement what it is that they would like to achieve in this space in the competition sphere, and then be prepared to provide options in crisis and conflict? I'm going to just talk about a few things, more concrete things I already mentioned the Army structure decision, the formulation of the TIADs in the Army structure decision. But in fact, the TIAD concept has been experimenting for the past year. We're moving into our second year of experimentation. So USERPAC is experimenting with a TIAD. There's a theater information and advantage element tucked underneath the 56 fires in Europe, and they're doing their experimentation. And our cyber also is looking at transregional threats with our own folks. The formalization of the TIADs now allows us to resource those 3 TIADs better. This is all for the purpose of enabling commanders to visualize and decide and again synchronize these effects that they could have in this dimension much better than they can today. You're going to hear from a fantastic suite of people coming through here on the panels today. And I just want to frame this for you. Our first panel will pull from history through current operations to talk about what the Army signature looks like on the battlefield, in the cyber domain, in the information dimension, and then we'll have a discussion about what does this mean for us in terms of this transparency that now is on the battlefield. The second panel will highlight the prevalence of social media's impact in global affairs, especially in open and democratic societies like ours. And I think this panel really challenge us to think about our own consumption of information and what it means given the threats that they will talk about. The third panel will help us think about Secretary Wormuth's call to mature as a data-centric Army. The fact of the matter is, if you cannot talk about the information dimension without thinking about the ones and zeros that really underlie how information travels, how the electromagnetic spectrum works. If you are not thinking about the data aspect of this to create that understanding and visualization for commanders, we're not going to get there. And then the final panel brings together leaders from across the service to describe their efforts to transform and meet the challenges. And so this joint perspective will round out today. And then bringing it back to the strategic part of information, we are blessed to have Honorable Rubin, the director for the Global Engagement Center at the Department of State, close out as our keynote speaker to give his perspective on the information dimension. And so, again, my thanks to everybody who came here today. Please remember those cards. There are questions that the panel is prepared to take, but really we want to hear from you as well and what's on your mind so that we can continue to build our capability and capacity to meet the challenges that our Army faces. Thank you.